Welcome back. Time now to look at what's happening out in Germany in as far as the league title. And Shane McGregor steps back up to the plate here to knock one out the park. Shane, let's talk about the biggest talking point of last weekend. We spoke about the fact that Leverkusen were playing early with Munich playing later on in the day. The importance of the result then. Leverkusen go and draw 0-0 against Union Berlin. 0-0 of all scorelines out in Germany, which is something that's rare. And Dortmund, or rather Munich, do the business.
Well, that's exactly it. Leverkusen had the chance to get something back. They obviously Bayern were playing a derby game, and we all know about derby games. But Leverkusen, surprisingly, 0-0. That's unheard of, especially in German football. But with them, it's unheard of. So couldn't get the job done. And then what can I say? The derby game, 2-4
There's
games.
expectation in both those sides.
Exactly. Whenever you play a derby game, and we all know this all over the world, it's always going to be fireworks, and that was all about it. 2 goals each, 4 goals. What a game! Now,
I spoke to you about the importance of the earlier game and the later game. And obviously, Leverkusen were looking to put the pressure on with the early result, hoping it would be a win. Do you think it's safe to say, having seen the early result, Munich did the business in securing the draw here?
I don't think it would have played on their minds. I don't think it would have played on their minds. They would have just gone out because it's a derby game and obviously want to try and get the result. That's what it was about. So unfortunately for them, they got a draw, but unfortunately they didn't get the 3 points.
Now let's talk about the bottom of the table. And interesting when you look at things in as far as the relegation battle. Holstein Kiel, right down at the bottom, 18th. They've only amassed 18 points so far this season. When you look at the games coming up, they've got Leipzig, they've got Gladbach, they've got Augsburg, Freiburg, and Borussia Dortmund. And just the games that lie ahead of them. Yeah. It's been a tough season. It looks as though it doesn't get any easier moving forward.
Nah, it's not going to get easier for them. For me, they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be playing below the Premier League. I can't see them getting out of this. I really can't. They haven't done it the whole season. They've been outperformed by every team, basically. I can't see them getting anything out of this game either.
Well, concerns for Bochum, 17th, they're also in serious trouble, only having amassed 17 points. But when you look at their run of late, of the last 5, they lost 5 games ago. They've lost the rest coming into the weekend's action, and they've got Bremen up next.
Yeah, once again, a team that's basically going down. You can't get results if you're losing games in a row. And I think the fight's just gone out of them. It's been one of those seasons for them, unfortunately. We always talk about, if you look at teams, the previous year they do well, and they come back into the league, they should expect them to do well. But then they lose vital players. That is a big thing. You can't be selling players all the time. And I know a lot of teams have to do that to survive the league, to survive the season. You can't be doing that because it's going to catch up with you. And that's happening in Germany as well. The guys are selling players, and that season they've been struggling, and that's a big thing. You got to look at that.
We also talk about the importance of being able to balance the league and Europe when you qualify for Europe. Heidenheim qualify for the UEFA Conference League, and while some would have expected them to continue onwards in improving, here they are 16th position rather on the league table, with the likes of Munich, Stuttgart, Bochum, Union, and Werder Bremen lying ahead. It's looking as though it's a complete opposite in the performances from last season to this.
Yeah, exactly, completely.
Is it Europe?
Yeah, it's Europe as well. When you're playing so many games and you've got a small squad, it's difficult. You get 1 or 2 injuries, and all of a sudden you're calling on the youth, getting the youngsters in. Doesn't work. You're not a Bayern that's got a big squad, so you've got to balance the 2 of them. But for me, unfortunately for them, they didn't bring enough players in, and they didn't have a big enough squad to last the season, and it's telling now at the end. Not a great looking for them the way they're going forward, or the games they got going forward, so they're in big trouble as well.
Big trouble, and lots of strides that are in a spot of bother at the bottom of the log standings out in Germany. We say thank you very much to Shane, and we should focus back at what's happening locally with a special little interview where we have journalist Mtokozi Sidube coming in. We pick his mind on, the biggest talking point in South African football coming out of last weekend, Coach Nabi from Kaizer Chiefs. So, as we promised, Mto's joining us now, and we're talking about the biggest talking point, I think, in Mzansi football over the last week. And that's not only just Kaizer Chiefs beating Mamelodi Sundowns, it's what it means overall, more so for the man who's been said to be cooking all season. Is the chef finally found his recipe? Is the big question, Mto.
Look, I don't think so. Honest truth is that Kaizer Chiefs still has a long way to go. I mean, that's not the way to win a game as a big team. I think they need to be consistent, from here. It does buy him a few more games, I suppose.
Games?
Yeah.
As in this season?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, here's the win against Sundowns. Now you got the final at, May 10th? And usually that comes at the end of the season. So what does that then mean for Nabi? Are we waiting to the end of the season or this season? How important are still the results between now and then?
Yeah, look, I think, getting into the final is obviously big for the club. It buys him, I say, a few more games because obviously they would want to see how he does in the final. But when you look at the way they started in terms of the vision and working together and trying to bring in certain players, renewing certain players, you can tell that there is a bit of a disconnect now. And I say this based on the kind of players that they are renewing, contracts, seemingly without including him in the conversation. So it doesn't look like they have him in their plans in the long term. But maybe winning games and probably finishing in the top 6, which is still possible, would then obviously get the fans behind him, which obviously changes the conversation because they won't be able to get rid of him if the fans are saying, okay, actually, he's doing something right.
Two major points coming into the season. The one was Chiefs not making a top 8 position. I'd imagine that's still crucial for them going 100%. Into the end of the season. But another was looking at your biggest rivals and how well they're doing, not only locally, but also watching them this season do as well as they've done in the CAF competitions, including Stellenbosch in the CAF competitions. They're still in the talking points, all 3 of those sides.
Sure.
The big point here with this win of Sundowns is Chiefs is back in the CAF conversations coming into next season. Now, how much does that change the spectrum for Nabi? How much does that maybe help him sleep a little bit easier?
Yeah, look, I think one of the things that I said at the start of the season was that a club like Kaizer Chiefs needs to be playing in that space. I mean, it's a competition that is won previously with Leopards, the DRC team. He's reached the final with Young Africans. So it's a space where he wants to, get into and guide the Kaizer Chiefs. But going into that space, you need to sign players. You need to be competitive. I mean, it's no fluke that Stellenbosch has gone as far as they've done, or a Pirates. They've built good, strong, competitive squads, which I don't think Kaizer Chiefs have at this point.
Well, that's still a talking point. Let's say going into the off season, but let's assume Chiefs may not make it into the top 8. It's still very possible that they may not make it. If they were not to make it, and again, we're just speculating, does that change the whole picture altogether? Even though they've got to the final of the Nedbank Cup and gotten to the CAF conversations, how influential is a top 8 position still? How important is it in securing Nabi's future?
Look, I mean, if he goes on and wins a Nedbank Cup, it says, oh, this guy has ended our 10-year drought, It sort of changes the whole conversation.
Top 8?
But if he fails if he wins it and fails to reach top 8, that would buy him another season.
Okay.
Possibly. Yeah.
No, even without
because Kaizer Chiefs they're hungry for a trophy. They just want to win a trophy, just to break that 10-year drought.
Well,
the trophy cabinet is too dusty.
You have it from Togozi. So it's interesting when you consider Chiefs are right back where they want to be and rubbing shoulders with some of the best in the country. In the way of the Nedbank Cup final, they are back with rubbing shoulders with some of the best on the continent in the CAF conversations. That's in the future. So exciting times. Nabi's future, though, is something that's worth keeping an eye on. And thank you so much to Mtuo. Thank you so much to Shane, and let's not forget Jerry as well. And from myself, Susan Mapena, the rest of the team behind the scenes, we thank you at home for taking the time to join us. We'll catch you next week on Game On. Click, click, bang.